offices. So please give a warm welcome to our ladies.
Good evening, everybody. Wow, when I walked through that whole crowd, this is a big group tonight, and so thank you for having me into Philadelphia. I am so excited to be here. 2 years ago, and I feel like the business has almost changed a little bit over the last couple of years. Let me ask you this: how many people in the room have used Rodan and Fields products? Wow, that is really impressive. So, needless to say, the history of Rodan and Kathy Fields, they were there also. So, we used to say that more because nobody knew who Rodan and Fields was. But now I ask you who's using Rodan and Fields, and the whole room raises their hands, which is awesome. So I don't feel like I need to talk about that quite so much anymore. So what we are going to talk about, though, is a lot of times people ask me, how do you talk about Rodan and Fields? I like to talk about the 4 pillars, which is, there we go, the 4 pillars. Brand, product, and then that other stuff. And I don't need to convince you guys of the brand, because you guys have heard of Dr. Katie Rodan and Dr. Kathy Fields. But it's been critical to the success of Rodan and Fields, because these products, by having that name recognition, that trust in the doctors, that automatically knocks down some of those barriers to try Rodan and Fields that very first time. But what gets them to come back is the high product quality, which you all know about. And my bet is I don't need to do a lot of convincing with you either on that high product quality. And you know what, if there was somebody in here from one of our competitors, and our competitors are Clinique and Lancome and Estee Lauder and L'Oreal and these other prestige skincare companies. If there was somebody here from those companies, they would start off this presentation the same way. They would say, we care about brand, we care about product. But what I want to talk about tonight, this is what really matters, is how are we different? How are we different than those other companies? And one of the things I want to talk about a little bit is our core, our founding was the observation that to be truly innovative and to be truly different and innovative in a successful way, you have to be a disruptor. And so I want you to think, when that word disruptor comes to mind, what are some of those other companies that you think of? You might think of Uber or Google or some of these different companies. Well, we really think of ourselves as being a disruptor. And as we have emerged, we think about how can we change the rules in the category. Uber changed the rules in the taxi industry, and they've won. Tesla changed the rules in the automobile industry, and they're winning. We're changing the rules in the skincare category against some of those other traditional skincare companies. Those other skincare companies, this is where we start different, is it's this other stuff. The brand and product, let's just agree those are really important for most successful companies. But what makes us different starts now. So these other traditional skincare companies, they distribute their products in a traditional way. It might be through Nordstrom's, it might be through Walgreens, and once they get into those channels, unfortunately for them, is they're not at that point of purchase. So you've got the corporate office of folks that are not at that point of purchase. So to overcome that, they spend a lot of money on traditional advertising. And so we've got brick and mortar business that the trends are working against them, and traditional advertising is becoming less and less effective over time. Here's what I mean about traditional advertising. I spent 17 years in the wine business. I worked for the Gallo Winery for 17 years. And so I'm familiar with this example. I want you to think through it. I can see a few people drinking wine out here, so I know there's a few other wine drinkers. If you don't drink wine, use your imagination. I can use some, yeah, thank you. So think back to that last time that you bought a new brand of wine. Okay? Where did you hear about that winery? Why did you buy that bottle? My bet is that you didn't hear about it through traditional advertising. There was probably somebody in your social network, a friend or a family member or somebody that recommended that to you. And so that kind of knocked down that barrier. You said, I'll give that a try. Or maybe you tried it over at their house, and it just made it that much easier. So, okay, so back to disruptors. So I worked on a couple of disruptor brands over the years. One of those brands when I worked for the Gallo Winery was a brand called Barefoot Wine. It's that brand that has a foot on the label. And 10 years ago, it was not as kooky of an idea as, it was a little kookier of an idea than it feels like today, because there's all of these different grower labels, and there's every last, crazy label you can think of, the prisoner and all of this wacky stuff that was not there 10 years ago. 10 years ago, it was a category where it was all white, rectangular shaped labels, and it talked about how many generations of family winemaking, and it was all the same stuff. And it was I have more points than you got from the Wine Spectator. That was kind of how it went. That was about as creative as the marketing was. Well, we put a foot on the label, which some people thought was gross, and what a number of us recognized was that it actually was fun. And in a category that was a little bit stuffy, we had the opportunity to break through as being fun. Well, today, Barefoot Wine is the #1 selling wine brand in the United States because they had the courage to be fun. Okay, so then I took a career departure and I went and worked for a food startup called Crave Jerky company. Beef jerky, turkey jerky, pork jerky, and we made this new style of jerky. It was tender, it was gluten-free, chef-inspired recipes, all natural. We marketed it to women, and a few years later, we sold it to Hershey's for almost $250 million because we had the courage to try something that was different, to try something that disrupted the category, because at the time, there was absolutely nothing like it. Well, Dr. Rodan and Dr. Fields, when they repurchased this skincare business, they launched it in department stores, sold it to Estee Lauder, repurchased it back from Estee Lauder in 2007. And when they did that, they recognized that opportunity to disrupt. Not in brand, not in product, but how they go to market. And they do that by partnering with all of these consultants, recognizing that brick and mortar was declining, an e-commerce company has the ability to make it through that. So back to the disruptor. So, excuse me. So they recognized the opportunity to disrupt, and it was really a simple observation that they made. And that observation was that every one of us in this room has just a little bit of an inkling to want to be entrepreneurial, to want to be an entrepreneur. And I bet you're right. I see a lot of heads out there nodding. A lot of you have said, I could have done that, or that, or that. Why didn't I think about that? And there's just a little bit of that desire in all of us. But the problem is that even when I was working for Crave Jerky, we had to raise tens of millions of dollars in order to go grow the business. And when you think about Uber, or think about a lot of these companies, we don't have that kind of money to go do that. So the doctors recognize that every one of us has just a little bit of that entrepreneurial curiosity, I guess I'll call it, to want to do something on your own. You want to be something that you want to go do something that you can be proud of. And that's the opportunity that they provided to be a consultant, to go be the CEO of your own skincare company, where you get to join Dr. Katie Rodan and Dr. Kathy Fields. It's pretty cool, and that's what we're here to talk about tonight. So a lot of people will ask me, what are you most proud of, or what's your favorite part of your job? And I don't know what you're thinking on what I might say, but the truth is what I'm most proud of is that when I see somebody who decides to make that decision to become a consultant, and they go work their butts off, because there's nothing easy about this. Am I right, consultants?
Yes.
It's hard work, but when you can go do it on your own terms, you can make a little bit of extra spending money, and you go have some success. What really makes this worth it for me is to watch that person grow. And at some point, you have all gotten up in the morning, you've looked in the mirror, and you're just a little bit more proud of yourselves. Because you worked hard and you've done something that you didn't have before this. You're standing just a little bit taller. You go to a meeting like this and you're looking at me just a little bit differently in the eye, and you're like, yes, I was able to do this. So that's what I love about this. So tonight we're going to talk about all 4 of these pillars. We're going to talk about brand, we're going to talk about product, but what I really want you to focus on is all of this other stuff and where we're a little bit different. So to get that started, I am going to ask one of our local leaders, and I don't usually mention title because it doesn't mean a lot to everybody, but she is a premier level 5. And what everybody should walk away with is that she has worked her butt off. It's a really good deal to get to premier level 5. So please join me in welcoming Dr.